What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekend astrology horoscope for the weekend of July 20th and the 21st of 2024. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, fixed air moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. It's a full moon in Capricorn. We're going to run it back, have another full moon in Cap, the second of two. And, once in a blue moon in Capricorn, right? It's the saying. It's always in Capricorn. It's not. It changes. I think the last one was in Scorpio, if I remember right. But nonetheless, which ironically is not a place the moon likes to be. Maybe it was Sag. It's not super important, but let's look at Saturday before the new moon, which will be, I think it's at like 3 in the morning on Sunday. But we're going to see that moon in Capricorn going through those mid degrees. It's going to sextile Saturn. And it's going to finish the day with a trine over to Uranus. How about that stuff on Friday, right? The Cloud Strike program, the software that a lot of like big corporations and companies like airports and banks and all that use that went down and like airports stopped. And oh my God, all this Uranus energy has been intense. Intense. And like, Mercury, where Uranus. And I think I even said in the horoscope for Friday, like, electronics, or even maybe it was Thursday, like electronics, crazy, softwares, computers, crazy. And of course we're still in that. That's still happening. They're not out of their square yet, so who knows? Twists and turns, bumps in the road, software, computer stuff. That's like the hardest part is I think having things that we want to get done or feeling like we need to be on time. And I think that's going to be the theme for this weekend is like time because it's a full moon in Capricorn. Capricorn is the ruler of time. And even Saturday is like with the sextile to Saturn, the dispositor of Capricorn in Pisces, like time doesn't matter. Things happen when they happen right now. There's a divine time to everything and maybe we want certain goals or achievements to happen right away, but we're kind of at the mercy of fate in many ways and the divine time, and we just got to be okay with that. Stick to our goals, stick to the things that make us feel good and drive us forward with comfort and passion even, but I don't know. And anyways, at 1:44 p.m. on the West Coast, Mars is going to ingress into Gemini, so that's a big shift for this full moon also, is Mars is going to like try to speed things up here in Gemini and kind of get our curiosity ramped up and have us trying to maybe juggle a bunch of things at once. Well, it's interesting, how many things are we going to juggle? How many things are we going to want to do at once? Maybe it's a lot. Maybe we're feeling like a little slow and now we can ramp things up. This full moon's an interesting one because it's trying to help to have us release. That's the full moon. It's like release. In Capricorn, it's like, well, what? Do I release my goals, my ambitions, my career, responsibility? Like, what are all these Capricorn things that need to be released? Well, probably just the things that you don't really love. I don't think we need to I don't think we need to worry so much or stress so hard about it, but we definitely need to be in a divine time. So the trick's just to stay in your heart, and that's Venus is trying really hard in Leo to keep everybody's hearts wide open with the sextile to Jupiter and good aspects to the nodes. And we want to keep that in mind, especially Saturday. Like, we don't need to be overly productive. We don't need to be overly anything. We don't need to be anything but ourselves. And we don't need to do something for the societal quota, if you will. We just need to do things for our own soul quota and things that make us feel good and what makes us feel expressive and true to our nature and what keeps our hearts open. That's the big thing, and not having expectations or a certain time where certain things have to happen. Putting in the work because you want to, because you love things, because you love the things that you want to do or create, and it feels good. The timing will happen when the timing's right, but Saturday we might get caught up like trying too hard to please for some societal, again, quota was a good word. There could be conditioning thrown in there, some type of societal conditioning. Well, don't worry about what society's doing right now. This weekend's the weekend to like not pay attention to all the craziness that's going on in the world, but to try to really focus on your divine time for the things that you want and what you're trying to make happen in your life. We look at the full moon on Sunday at 3:17 in the morning on the West Coast, 6:17 on the East Coast of the United States. 29 degrees. That is intense. It's the anaretic degree. It's a blue moon. It's heavy. And I remember talking about the first full moon in Capricorn, and I think I mentioned things like keeping up with the Joneses, and it's a societal quota. It doesn't need to be there. There's such an intensity right now with Capricorn things. It's an election year in the United States. There's all sorts of other government stuff going on in other countries. The like governments are like running rampant in people's minds right now. And I'm not saying all of you guys, but in the world as a collective it is. Maybe for some people here it doesn't. I'm not trying to say either way, but it's a big deal in the collective right now. And with Pluto there, it's like, ooh, getting really intensified and really dug into. And it's just so emotional. So you're just going to see some emotional feelings go on, and maybe something goes down interesting with politics this weekend. It was a week ago, last weekend, that the whole Trump shooting went down at the rally. Really weird situation. No idea what the deal is with that. I know there's a lot of conspiracies, a lot of questions. I have no idea. I don't I don't care. I'm sorry. I wish I could give you more on that, but it's still crazy stuff that's going on in the world that would not be surprised if this full moon brings out some more crazy stuff this weekend. Like, this is the kind of full moon that for sure brings out the werewolves. And it's a little bit scarier because we're at 29 Capricorn and we probably want to, feel like there's some comfort, some security, some safety. And this full moon is just like digging into a lot of fears. Now, maybe there has nothing to do with what countries are doing or governments are doing, but maybe it's also like certain fears of not having enough to get your goals accomplished, not having enough to get the things that you want to build a legacy for done. And that's all because of a false timeline. And if there's anything we need to release, it's this sense of like this certain timing that our ego wants. It doesn't, just forget it. It's not about a 5-year plan. It's not about, in 2 weeks, I'm going to get this done. Just try to get out of like how long something needs to take. It doesn't matter. Pluto's going to come back to 29 degrees in September, station direct, and finish its transit in Capricorn by November of this year. Time is not, it's never going to be the same again. Governments will never be the same again. And I'm not saying like right away, maybe November, but something is going to change. It has no choice. Pluto's the great wrecking ball of all the planets. So when it finishes in a sign, it changes the dynamics of the sign. So we don't want to be living in an old timeline for much longer or hold some crazy tradition, because Capricorn rules tradition too. So we need to start revolutionizing the things that we're really emotionally attached to and that we're making and creating goals for. And we need to revolutionize our own legacies in many ways too, and how we're going to do things and operate in a world. And it's a world that we don't have any idea. Mercury is square Uranus. We don't have any idea. It's so up for grabs about what the reality of the future is going to be that nobody really knows. It's all just, we're just throwing ideas out there, and ideas are great. And Mars is in Gemini, Jupiter's in Gemini. Ideas are outstanding. Let's keep having them. Let's keep having conversations. Let's do it with an open heart. Let's do it with an open mind. Let's see what we can figure out. But to think that we know anything about anything right now is silly, and it reminds me of like enlightened monks that will tell you they know absolutely nothing. Great wisdom, like right now, like the wisdom is just deeper inside of us than ever, and we got to feel comfortable and safe with that. And we don't need answers from the world. We don't need Biden to somehow magically be able to talk. We don't need we don't even need him to just say I quit. We don't need Trump to say it. We don't need any of these things that we think we need to make our life better. We need to make our lives better by focusing in on our personal lives, on our communities, on the people around us, and have open, honest communications about where things can go so we can build a legacy together. Like, that's where everything's shifting to. So, like, we need to get out of this, the old program. I feel like this is a big full moon that's like, get out of the old program. It's not there to serve us anymore. It's not there to, it's not the legacy anymore. And it's getting hyper intensified. It's just ironic how divine time works with an election year, and probably the most polarizing, candidates you could ever have for a United States election. And, it's like being touted. It's not necessarily, but it feels like, right? Like one of the big boxing matches where it's like, oh, I don't follow boxing much anymore, but it's like the twos, like a rematch. It's not, that's not what's important anymore. And we can get really focused on something in the world that's going to make things better or change, or like, it's funny, right? Like this transit's going on, like this would be a weekend where the president would say he's dropping out of the race, right? Like where Biden would say I'm done. And where people are going to be like, yeah, the world's better, or people are going to be like, even, I mean, maybe even everybody would say that. Like, I don't know um how that would go, but that's the kind of weekend that we're in for, is one with change. But it's not like that matters. That's what I'm trying to say. And even with Neptune and sextile to the moon, people are going to feel like my greatest dreams came true. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't. What matters is the next 20 years, and that does not just, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in 4 years. The change that we're going to see isn't about the governments doing it. That was Capricorn. That's what we're just wiping the slate clean of. So now we're coming into redoing. It's a revolution, right? Pluto in Aquarius. It's the people making changes. And I guess the best case scenario for anything political would be that the people, because the United States it's supposed to be for people by the people, that it can go back to something like that. But I don't think that's just something that's going to be given, right? I think that's something that a revolution within ourselves, something about taking. But use that as a metaphor. Even if you don't like politics, forget about the politics. That's fine. I don't really like it either. But use that as a metaphor for you taking your life back. Forget the time. Forget the procedure. Forget the roadmap. Like just start blank, start clean. Pretend you don't know anything about anything, but acquire information that you like, that you love, that you want to put energy into. And that's the stuff right now that you could build something with. That's how you could find this whole new, like, ground zero in your life. And that's the golden ticket. Everything from the old Capricorn world, just, it doesn't matter. And it's gonna get so intensified, and people are gonna think it matters. And maybe it does. But that's not how I feel when I channel this astrology. That's just my opinion. Take it as you is, but we're having open dialogue about it. Mars is in Gemini, so let's talk. Jupiter's there. Jupiter and Venus are in that sextile. That's definitely, like, there is some really good transits for this full moon. Like, even the sextile to Neptune is really nice. And, of course, we're getting an exact square between Mercury and Uranus. It's just like, don't know. just let things happen. Just flow with things. Be in your divine self, be in your soul, and it's all good. And create things in a very Cancerian manner that are close to home. Like, you have love for, it's like, I have love for this. I feel so good about this. I'm going to keep doing these things. It's just the stuff that isn't, it has nothing to do with you, that you feel like you have to reach for. That is a big, it's a great, it's just like the Wizard of Oz, all of it. So the relationships that can expand through this curiosity and through this relationship to self and through this expression of channeling your energy into things that have like a here and now purpose can go really far. But again, it's not about putting a time to it, it's just about putting a frequency to it, and the frequency is built around love. So we have to discern right now a difference between passion and love, because sometimes we're going to get triggered passionately by things that we have to ask ourselves if we love it. Or is it just a subconscious desire? Is it something different? But like, what's real that feels like love? It feels like unconditional. Like, I don't care if I get it or not. I love trying. I love the process. To me, those are the things that are just ready to like expand, and the things that we want to ask questions about, and the things that we don't know. And we got to figure out some way to keep our mind right at the same time. And I really do think it's by being open, because the more you know right now with Mercury square Uranus, you're gonna get like an update like CloudStrike did, and it's gonna crash your system, and your mind's not gonna know what to do, and it's gonna blank, and it's gonna trigger your emotions with Pluto that are gonna go into some really dark places. They're gonna drag you down. So we gotta stay out of those things. You gotta keep it really close to home this weekend, with your emotions, because the wolf is out, the werewolf, with this full moon. But it's almost like, yeah, it's got the mouth of a wolf, but the eyes of a lamb. So something can look like it's gonna be so great, and then eat you. And this could be news. This could be something with a job. This could be something with our own desires for certain accomplishments. We gotta be careful and kind of just flow. And the more we flow, the better we'll be. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. I've said enough. That's what I gotta say. Hope you have a great weekend. Happy full moon. Happy blue moon. Blue moons are always cool. Always interesting getting those two full moons in the same sign back to back. The second one always seems to be more intense. And this one's conjunct Pluto, and Mars and Pluto are in trine. Definitely another thing that's totally getting us wrapped up in something, getting us like getting our passion, our intensity all up in the mix. This weekend's gonna like hit nerves, and it can hit nerves in extremely beautiful ways if you're taking care of yourself and doing your own thing. And I mean, it can catch you really off guard too if you like think you have it all figured out. The moon, how funny. Funny card. But also, it's just ironic that we got the moon on a full moon. So I love it. I mean, it's all out. It's all out. Like emotions are gonna be extremely triggered. I really think I don't make too many predictions on this channel, but it's hard to not predict that this weekend something big is gonna happen with the presidential candidate. And I know like it was just a weekend ago that something already did, but I would not be surprised if there's more big news. I would not be surprised if there's just some kind of a big news that comes out in the government. And the reason I'm saying that anyways is just because the emotions are going to be so high that it's going to be easily triggered. It's going to feel like, what is all this stuff coming up? And with Pluto and the moon together, like every little creepy crawly is going to come out. And you might not like what you see. You might not like what you see. You're like, wow, that's not what I was thinking. I was expecting the moon. I got these weird butts. It's just gonna be a weird weekend. Don't expect too much. Even with like that, I made a prediction. I don't even expect it to happen. But it wouldn't shock me if we did see something like that. But it's almost like there's so many different choices, and we have to choose which emotion feels better, even if we don't like any of the scenarios. And that might be just by choosing ourselves, choosing to do things that are going to make more sense for our futures and for our lives, and to really double down on what's close by and not so much about um, whatever else it is. Whether it's like I said, it could be a goal, an achievement, like all these different things, all the way up to a government, all the way up to just maybe feeling restricted or rules. We have to get back home to ourselves so that we can revolutionize where things are going. Don't get so caught up in anything that's outdated. And ironically, it's funny that something, outdated when an update just came through for a company that runs airports and banks. Huge companies use this service, and it completely fried their shit. And they're probably going to get it fixed, of course. Maybe, but we need to update, but we don't want something else doing the update for us. Like, we need to update our own system spiritually for ourselves, and that's just on us. That's what we got to take responsibility for. All the other stuff's just a bunch of noise right now. And there's a plan, a big master plan for that noise. And it's all going to work itself out in divine time. And then it's going to come back to where the people have more power and revolutionize. But hey, that might take 20 years from now. Doesn't matter. That's how I started this. It doesn't matter about the time. Just what you do with your frequency now will be a big step forward for a long time. Next full moon in Capricorn, Pluto will be in Aquarius for 20 years. So remember that. This is the last full moon in Capricorn where Pluto is coming back into Capricorn and it's conjunct it. This is a once in a lifetime moment. Don't expect too much. Be open and just be you. Be curious. Everything will be probably pretty good this weekend. Love you all. Have a great weekend. I'll see you all Monday. Much love. Peace.